Good morning, happy Monday, everyone. Back to have the sweat jacket on. It's chilly here this morning, like 51 degrees. Oh boy. So, I left all the windows open last night, so it's in the 60s in the house, which is cold for here. How is everyone doing? Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. World Series is set. Dodgers versus Yankees should be a good one. We had Trump making fries. What else is going on? Good morning, John. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Sterling. Sterling putting in the information in the chat like revenue grew 479 billion, but spending outpaced. That's why the deficit keeps growing because we're spending like no tomorrow. So deficits seen to carry inflationary risk. The U.S. government's latest income statement shows why large budget deficits are a grim omen for the economy. It's going to get very interesting. Yep, the 10-year keeps climbing. We're going to take a look at that. What else? Good morning, Ted. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, McRangers. Good morning, Jacob. Let me raise this up so I don't have to look down so much. There we go. Good morning, Jacob. We got Logan, who started speaking a few minutes ago. The economy is strong and stable. Well, based off the numbers, I don't know about some of the underlying stuff, but if the government keeps spending, you can have the illusion of that. Hold on to my second cup of tea this morning. Let's see. I see downside risks to job market, ongoing risks to inflation go. I see a lot of ongoing risks to both of them. That's why we could go into some stagflationary times. What else? Good morning, Martinez. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Royal. We'll get into everybody. Can we look at Zuo? I'm sure we'll have some time. Just remind me. Where did I move to? I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, Royal Palms. The desert. Hello, Charles. Good morning, Anissa. And thank you for tuning in, everyone. I hope everyone did have a wonderful, fantastic weekend. The weekend went by too quick from my perspective. The weekend went by way too fast. But other than that, we got another week. You know, October's flying by, option expiration out of the way. So, hedging attack with crude. I mean, we're still going to get the Israel retaliation against Iran. So we shall see. We shall see. Is there any major buy signal yet in crude? No. Not from my perspective. Hey, yes, good morning to you. But I am keeping a very close eye on crude heading into the next couple days. Let's see, we had Logan speaking. Sterling put the comments in the chat already. Thank you very much for Sterling for the news and comments in the chat. We don't have much. We have the Consumer Board Leading Index, which is forecast to still be in contraction. It's been in contraction forever, I think, except for 1 month. 3 and 6 month bill options. We got Kashkari and Schmid speaking. And then I'm just looking at this. This is a quiet week. We got more Fed speak tomorrow, Richmond Manufacturing Index, Red Book. Wednesday, we got the mortgage stuff, the crude stuff, Barkin speaking, Beige Book. Beige Book is actually going to be somewhat interesting to see what some of the other stuff shows from the Fed. Some of their numbers and some of their data. We got jobless claims, as always, on Thursday. We got Hammock speaking. We got S&P Global Services and Manufacturing Composite. So Thursday is sort of a busy week in terms of news. And then we got Friday, we got durable goods and the final numbers for the Michigan consumer sentiment and inflation expectations on Friday. But not a super big week in terms of that. Let's just take a look at earnings real quick, because earnings are somewhat going to outpace the news. Today, this morning, we didn't have much. After the close, we got SAP, Logitech, but not much that's going to be market moving. Tomorrow, we got Verizon, GM, 3M, We got Attack Tuesday. We got Raytheon. We got GE Aerospace. We got Lockheed Martin. So we got the defense contractors all reporting tomorrow morning. We got Enphase, Seagate, Texas Instruments after close on Tuesday. Wednesday, big in the morning. We got AT&T, Boeing, Coca-Cola. Uh, After close, the big one is Tesla from a sort of a mega cap this morning. The biggest one this week is Tesla, which is Wednesday after the close. So even if you're not interested in Tesla, do not ignore it because of its mega cap status. Thursday, American Airlines, but bigger. I'm watching UPS. That can actually move the market at this point if they give poor guidance or something. One of my favorite Tractor Supply companies, and no, I was not being sarcastic. Tractor Supply can be some good trading at times. Uh, we got Western Digital after close. Friday, Colgate Palmolive. Colgate Palmolive, and not a lot on Friday. Just want to get that out of the way. Now we will look at the S&P map this morning. We got a little pressure on the mega caps, a little bounce in oil. Oops, sorry about that. Bounce in Boeing. Bounce in Boeing. Still Netflix after its earnings last week, still trying to run higher. But sort of a very sort of mixed to weak market. Energy is definitely leading it this morning, followed by basic materials. And then a lot of stuff is very flat to slightly negative. Consumer cyclical down the most. Yeah, we're gonna take a look at silver, definitely this morning. Fed watch is 92% for one more cut. Look at we are in extreme greed mode again with multiple potential topping patterns. End of wave, Elliott waves. We got some mini doubles, and we have potential some sell signals from DeMark that have not triggered yet. And we're in complete nosebleed territory, 37.35. We're closing in on the highs from October 21, which we had 38.58. What were the highs back from the .com? 42.18. I doubt we'd hit that, but this is massive nosebleed territory. But can the markets continue? Yes, they can. All right. Even with this price action, even with the little rally on Friday, which did not take us in the futures markets to new highs in the S&P, we still have a potential double. A potential double. So right now, I'm going to flip this around just from the sake that these are the levels I'm looking at going into today. And my front run pattern, let me show you what my front run area I'll be watching. Because yes, we are at daily cycle bottoms, but we are at weekly cycle tops, trying to get out of overbought with a massive weekly divergence. That's why, and a lot of stuff points to right around now being a potential significant topping pattern, but it has not triggered yet. My front run area for that is if we follow through, break down, and close below 58.74.50, which would take us into the daily rotation zone. Remember, from a weekly perspective, we could complete this little mini double top to take us back to the weekly rotation zone. So that's just a minor topping pattern. And the first target is roughly about the bottom rotation zone, 58.16. Actually, I have to adjust this. Sorry. We are going to right here. It's 58.17. So that's where we sit with that. Now, other than that, the key area I'm watching is we have the tops from Friday, the tops from overnight. So 59.15 is very key. 59.15 on any bounce today. Intermediate, I'll be using about 59.07 on any bounce play. But you see here, we've come down to this 50% harmonic again, 58.82. So my key support going into the open is 58.82. My key resistance, the first key resistance is going to be about 59.07, then 59.15. Those are the exact things I am watching going into the open. All right. Sort of going to do a higher level. I think it's important we have the potential little mini double top on the NASDAQ, which the interesting thing on the NASDAQ would be the rotation zone, if this did trigger, would be out of the way. If we're front running, any front run pattern for me is if now we go back down and close below this 20,352 on a daily closing basis. It's a little riskier because we're in the rotation zone, and that does not mean the double would still target. That would mean I'd be targeting the bottom of the rotation zone. 20,206.25 on a closing basis triggers this mini double, which then could take us back. And this is a very overextended upside double. I'm taking the next one off. This is it's overextended to this side. But if we start trading back into that, we could be triggering a more medium-term topping pattern. Right now, my key support level throughout this morning is 20,352. And remember, that's what I'm also watching that on the closing basis. Key resistance is going to be about 20,500. Also remember, NASDAQ trying to roll over against very key resistance. And this little topping pattern will just take us into the weekly rotation zone. Very key support level is right at the bottom of that in the weekly rotation zone in the prior major weekly breakout level, about 19,800. We definitely have to break below that before we could get even into a more significant sell pattern. The Dow, which we did have a little mini double on the daily, is off the table. You see here we pushed with the reverse harmonics, we pushed above 43,572. So that's off the table. And that's where we stalled out, right in that range. If we do break out higher in the Dow, the next target is 43,714. The little key area I'm looking at for major support is right around 43,420. And then the next key level is 43,259. So those are the two areas I'm watching for any pullback with the Dow. Remember, the Dow also at cycle tops and very overbought and overextended from the weekly rotation zone. The Russell, I'm going to pay attention to the downside if we still start breaking below about 2275, because that breaks this first level of support. Again, I mean, the markets will trade where they are, but the Russell's getting very top heavy, and we've talked about a lot of zombie companies in the Russell. So, and it's getting really bid up. You know, on the weekly basis, we're back within like all-time highs from November 21. We're not that far in terms of everything, and we're back in the major consolidation pattern that was in from the pretty much all the way through 21 before breakout higher and then collapsing back down. So, gonna keep an eye on this. You know, if it does go higher, it's still 23.58 is the key target price higher, but I'm going to be watching to see if it can sustain this. Now, if it can sustain this and rotate back up, if the markets stay in raw mode, it's really this 23.58 level. The VIX still staying elevated, although at 19. We'll be watching more for a continued push higher if we break below 18 on with some momentum. The DAX has not invalidated the doubles yet. You can see the weekly double is still in play for the bigger one, and we have a daily double. A daily double, which is not invalidated. Now, if it pushes above 19,826, that is invalidated. Right now, it's still holding the rotation zone, and it needs to close below 19,530 to trigger. That's what I'm watching. Very key with this because we also have divergences in the DAX up here. Very interesting. We've rotated back down in the notes, back to the 87.5. If we do break lower, now I have the harmonics from the top being on September 11th to the bottom being on Thursday the 10th, which is also a weekly pausing bar. You see that week, the next week did not touch that low and is an opposite color. Doesn't need to be an opposite color, but it's a stronger pausing bar if it is. And we're right at that 50 week. Okay, so here are the next targets. If it does break below 111.22, look where the 200 is and look where the next harmonic projection is. 111.04 area, 111.06, 111.04. So maybe I'll just make a target 111.05, and that's also right where a prior key resistance becoming support level is. And I mean, that's a little higher than that, but we're also between the 50 and the 62.5. So we could push into this major key level that could provide some support? Yes. But this could be a breakdown with also increasing yields. Look at the yields. We still do have a potential double top, which is fantastic from a trailing perspective for yields. Counting me back in the rotation zone, now rotating higher. We got, again, option expiration out of the way for the markets. Next target here is that 50% harmonic from the whole drawdown of 4.165. Above that, we have the harmonics now because we have a key pausing bar here. Again, from the lows on these lows on the yield from the really the 17th. You can use the 11th or the 17th because of the double bottom nature. But that gives me 4.02, then 4.27. The key thing for a continued bullish thing in the yields on the 10 years will close above 4.31 roughly. I'll be watching for a more significant potential topping pattern within this area between the 50 and 62.5, but still, yields are climbing. 10-2s, back to, we've had the pullback, back to climbing. Look at that on the weekly basis. We pulled back in the rotation zone, looking like we're going to break above this pullback resistance. So we can still see the yield curve climbing, which to me is not bullish right now. It actually could be very, very detrimental to the markets. As I've talked about many times, dollar index. So far, sideways correction with cycles moving down. We've had some divergences up here. Still, we're sideways correction. If we break out, we have that major cluster around 103.80. We close above 103.80, we'll remain in dollar bullish mode. Even on a pullback, I mean, even on a pullback from my perspective to 102.50, it's still in another, we could then watch for another bounce higher. Crude, we have a little rally here. We don't have a super strong bottoming pattern yet. Here's the chart in crude. We do not have anything strong. We just rallied back to a major consolidation congestion area. I'm going to be watching potentially for a rollover play to set up a stronger bottoming pattern. Now, if you get the Iran attack out of nowhere, yes, we could see. And if they hit oil facilities if Israel hits oil facilities in Iran, you could definitely see crude take off. So if it's nothing I would be short right now. Because you're going, even if it rolls over again, you're going into a major level of a major support level. So there's not a lot of great reward to risk down here, especially with what's still going on in the Middle East. Gold continuing to move higher. I think it's going to take somewhat of a unraveling of the equities to put a damper on gold. But we're closing in on the next harmonic target. We hit the last one on Friday, the minor harmonic. We're closing in on a major harmonic 2760. Above there, gold keeps going, and you have 2820. This is very helpful to use the harmonics, because otherwise, what targets are you using on the upside because the gold's at all-time highs? Key support is back at the prior breakout level and the rotation zone, 2700. So on any pullback, that's still We are at cycle tops and very overbought. So depending on your time frame, is it very short term? I know where your short term stops are. But even a pullback to the rotation zone does not put in even a medium term top yet. Silver, here we go. Silver, we consolidated, broke out on Friday. Broke out on Friday. Followed through today. We're sitting at the next very key harmonic cluster, which was 3430 area. Next target's 35405. 35405. If you're going way back, to the last run up, to the highs from 11 to, that's 2011, back to the lows of 20. Look where the sixth, it's really, my advice is to learn to use harmonics. Look at this, the forward harmonic that I said 35.50, and look where the 62.5 is, which Sterling talked about the 62.5. He's dialed in. Why? Because you get the close above 35.50. Shifts the harmonic levels, it shifts the probabilities for a continued push higher. Now, if we had a market wipeout, I think people would be selling silver and gold, so you could definitely see pullbacks. But the probabilities would shift $40 and then $45. So silver trying to play catch up to gold. Copper not doing much. I'd be playing silver and gold first and foremost instead of copper. Yen, still basing. Watching this 150, 180 area. Still basing. Trying to not get, it didn't even get full pullback in cycles, but trying to turn higher. Holding the rotation zone. So still watching for more upside in yen. Euro. Watching for the next rotation down to complete the double and come in at very, very key support level, which is when I'll start watching for a stronger bounce. We could, on the next push lower, if we take out Thursday's lows, set up a really nice potential divergence. URA, yep, uranium. So we can see the latecomers start piling into that. But how long have we been talking about uranium on this channel? How long has it been? How do you handle beginning of a daily reversal to uptrend with a retrace to rotation zone, but a weekly downtrend to retrace to a rotation zone? Let's just take a look. Use cited lithium, and I'll just jump over to these things right now. Let me take a look at the weekly. So you got the first cross rotation zone. So on any, I mean, you've had, it's technically in neutral mode. This is for me right now. Let me put on the retracements. Here's exactly what I'd look for. Is come back to here. This is a very key area. I'd still be in bullish mode unless we look at close below 40.07. This is more dropped to neutral mode on the daily, so it has to prove itself. Let's take a look at the weekly now. We've got the first cross rotation zone coming back against a very key support level right here. So I'd be looking for buy patterns and then a bounce play still in this. Now we have weekly cycles at the top, so I'd be a little patient. There's not a super strong pattern yet. If you start getting back above about 44 without coming back down, I'd be watching for a rotation back down. The only thing the upside is if we start closing above 44, we might be into the bounce without the rotation. And then on any bullish play, I don't have a strong buy signal yet. But on any bullish play, my first target would be this 50% retracement from the highs to the lows, which is right around this 45.30 area. So I definitely, at least on any bounce play here, because I'm still looking with cycles on the longer term, you know, on the longer term, we could be trying to break out. I'd still be looking for more bullish price action. So I definitely raise a stop there and then go a close. We start bouncing back about 46.30 on a daily closing basis. Then it's sort of more in all clear and I got to give it a little more room, but still trail a stop. Again, in the short term, I don't have a super strong buy pattern just yet. Technically, if you close above Friday's or Thursday's highs, Friday was technically a percent B buy, but a weak one based off that gap. And lithium is very gappy. So I just keep that in mind. This was a very weak buy pattern. And you want, let's just peek at URA real quick. Again, URA to most recent new highs on Friday. Rising rotation zone. Trying to build a base up here. We talked about this last week. Trying to break out among major resistance. Getting more and more notoriety here. Getting more of the, you're going to get the public sucked in on this. Key support is 31.65. So on any pullback, I'm just watching them see if that holds. And then Zuo. Okay. Let's take a look at the weekly in Zuo. I mean, you're still in a major consolidation pattern. Look at that 1050 being very significant resistance. It's trying to build a higher base. It's trying to build a higher base. You know, if it can hold on a shorter term basis, it's got to follow through from my perspective and get above 1050 again on a weekly closing basis. As long as it can really hold this 950 area on any pullback on, you know, maybe even 940 to 950, I'd be watching for a bounce play there. Because it's trying to build some higher bases, but if this fails, I would not want to be long it because it's still in consolidation. This is not a super strong pattern just yet. So my key thing, if I was looking on any bullish thing, a stop raise would be at 1050, and then the next key target area would be right around 1150. It's got to get above 1150 to really start a breakout mode for me, based off the long-term charts. By the way, the spiders weren't open. I'm sorry we went a little long this morning. The spiders, you still do have a little potential double top on a daily basis. So keep an eye on that. It would need a close below 578.54. The Qs, you still have a potential double top, needs a close below 487.57. We got Tesla earnings on Wednesday. This might take it to a little mini double bottom territory, but I'm still watching. If Tesla closes below 213, that shifts the probabilities for lower. NVIDIA, we have a little mini potential double top. Okay. If NVIDIA gets above 142.32, it's off the table. And if we really break about that, the next target would be to new highs at 147.02. Is it a weekly double bottom in GTLB? Is it still, well, it's still valid because here it's confirmed. It is confirmed. This did not invalidate it because it already confirmed it. If you want to know what would have invalidated it, because it was already confirmed, you have to come here with your harmonics, and you would have had to have a close below 46.64 or a trade through intra week below 44.67. So this is still completely valid. Has not triggered on the weekly basis. It has confirmed multiple times. It has not triggered on a weekly basis. It has not triggered even on a daily basis. So I'd be paying attention to see if it triggers today on a daily basis or if it loses it again, because it's trying to really break above this key resistance right here. So there you go, Sterling. All right, let's just peek back. We're trying to get some buying pressure in the open again. Still buy every dip. Buy the dips. There you go. I want to see how the tick opened. Minorly weak tick opening, but nothing strong. So I'm going to, this has to see on a tick pullback. I'm going to be looking around 58.94, 58.95 if it can pull back. We're coming into very key resistance right here. Going to be watching to see if we hold some of these key pullback levels with a rising tick. But overall, this market, we're going into a very potential topping area. Is still in bullish mode, but I have to be cautionary bullish on the shorter term. Bitcoin. Where are my cycles? There we go. Coming out of very overbought with cycles at the top. Looking for some kind of continued pullback here. Key support areas back at 66,000. You want to see 66,000 to hold. At least in the short term, that would be a pullback to the rotation zone. Coming out of very overbought on the daily and cycles tops on the weekly, and you're still against a very key resistance area. So if it's going to be building a higher base on any pullback, watch this 66K. You're welcome, Anissa. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful trading day. Again, thank you everyone for tuning in. Everything's in raw mode. Everything's in raw mode. Look at the NASDAQ bouncing back. Look at this. Look at this. Just buy. Look at this. Buy everything. Wow. Market just doesn't want to stop. By the way, this push higher would not invalidate the double in the short term. But we'll check in that tomorrow. I got to jump for now. Everyone have a wonderful day. You're welcome, Ted. And I will see everybody for Tuesday. Tuesday. Where did you see Coco lives? Was Coco in here? Or the rah mode? Coco lives on in rah mode. What did he say last week? It was going to what? Oh, NASDAQ. Did he say 28 now? Well, we'll see. Remember, a lot of people's end of year magnet price on the S&P is also 6,000. So, with that, I'll talk to everyone later. Bye for now.